Today we are going to change things up a little. We are going to be heading to the worlds of mean, median, and mode. So, when does this come into play? Well, one of the things you actually deal with more often than you may think. Now, mean is not just what your math teacher is or one of your other teachers that you don't get along with. That is another fancy word for average. Okay? So, if we're looking at an actual definition of average, again, we're over on page 5. What we're going to do is we're going to add up. Yeah. Add up all the data and then divide by the number of data points, which is just a fancy mathematical way of saying, hey, add up all these numbers and then count how many numbers there are, and that's the number we're going to divide by. That's how we find averages. We're going to do this. So what I'd like to do is actually we do this as we get the definitions here. So what we're going to do here for mean, like I said, I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can tackle this. But one of the ways that'll work on any calculator is to just take your values, add them on up. Good morning. Okie dokie, thank you. We'll keep adding here, and I got to make sure, especially if a number repeats, that I get both of them in there. Uh-oh, that's not going to help me. All right, I think we're good. Yep. So we're going to take 704, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as I was just told. 704 divided by 9. Now, what if you get a decimal? Typically, we're just going to go to the tenths place. We're going to go to one decimal spot. So 78.2. What's that? You can. Would be our mean or our average score for everybody on that particular quiz. Now, mean isn't always going to be the best way for me to see how everybody did. I mean, if I had somebody who got a super low score, let's say one of these scores would have been like 10 or something like that, that doesn't really tell me a lot about their score. That's where a different part comes into play. And that's called the median. Okay, the median is when we put the numbers in order smallest to largest and then we're going to take the number in the middle. So if I had a situation like I did, was just talking about, like if somebody is just off the charts, like everybody else is getting scores in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and I have somebody gets a 10, the median will help me to not let that throw everything off. Because if I look at this, there's a lot of people in the 80s who even got a 90, yet the average score is in the 70s. Is that really accurate? So, for the median, I got to go through here. I'm just going to label this. So let's see here. We'll start with the lowest. And the next one. And the next one. And yes, if there are multiples, you use them all. Oh, lots of 85s. 580. Oh no! forgot the 80. Okay, tuck the 80 in. Okay, let's make sure we got them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just like we did when we had the mean before. Okay, so yeah, I gotta make sure I get them all, and then I don't just lose one, like I almost lost 80 there. But it's kind of interesting that I almost lost 80, because if I go trying to find the one in the middle, if I just start on the edges, I start counting in, '80 is the one in the middle. Okay, I am going to make one more little note here with median in case we run into this. If there's two middle numbers, like let's say I would have had a list and I started counting in from the edges, and this 80 wouldn't have been here, and I'm coming in, and I'm coming in, and I'm coming in, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. There is no middle number. It's both of these. It won't be both, okay? If there's two middle numbers, you add them and then divide by 2. You're going to take the average of the middle two numbers. Okay, I'll try and pop an example of that up here in a minute too, if I don't see it on the practice forms. So mean is just an average. Add them up. Divide by the number of values of the data points you have. Median, we're just putting them in order. And then going ahead and picking the one in the middle. And then mode actually is the simplest of all these. Mode is just which number shows up most often in the list. And you can have more than one mode, okay? So I start looking through my list, and this is easiest to do in my median list because everything's in order. So I'm like 60, oh, I got 278, oh, but I got 385s. So my mode here would be 85. And so what we'll get into in the future, not into this immediate lesson, but in the future is, well, if I'm looking at numbers, if I'm looking at data, which one of these is going to be most accurate? So if somebody came up and said, hey, how'd your students do on their last test? You know, well, they averaged 78, or, well, the majority of them, if I look at specific numbers, got 85. I mean, that's kind of a difference. So we have to look a little deeper into that. Now, the last part that goes with this is, what if I'm in a class? And this could be helpful for some of you that ask sometimes, what do I need to get my grade to here? You can answer it yourself. Sammy wants to earn a 90% in math class. One quiz left. On the first 5 quizzes, he got 74, 92, 83, 98, and 100. What score must he get on the 6th quiz to get the 90% he wants? Okay, couple of ways to tackle this. Here's the way that I think is easiest. So far he's gotten 74, 92, 83, 98, and 100. So let's add those up. So that's 447 he's got so far. Now, if he is going to have, so this is on 5 quizzes that he's taken. So here comes the mystery. Here's how we're going to make this simple. He wants to average 90, okay? So to get 90%, he would have 6 quizzes that were 90 each. So he would need 540 points after the 6 quizzes to get to 90. I don't even have to deal with an equation or make a variable. All I'm going to do is take the number of points I need minus the number of points I have. Let's see, 540 minus 447. And I'm set. What's that? Yeah, 93%. What's that? Because it says, what must he score on the 6th quiz to get the 90% average he wants? So if you want to average it over time, yeah, so what we did is we added up all the scores we've had so far. I'm not really worried about the mean. All I'm concerned with here is he's taken 6 quizzes and he wants to average 90 on each of them. So I'd end up doing it this way. Now, if looking at that, you're like, okay, there's too many different things going on there, Hardy. Here's the other way we can kind of make it a little more algebraic if we wanted to do it that way. If we wanted to go algebra mode, here's what it would look like. I'd say, okay, like Hardy, there's still a lot of numbers. It's true. Okay, what I would say is, hey, there's a mystery grade involved here. I don't know what the mystery grade on quiz number 6 is yet. So I'm going to do X. And then if I divide that by 6, because you mentioned the word mean, which isn't a bad idea here, the average, he wants to average 90. But watch what happens when I do it this way. So we're doing a totally separate way of looking at it here. We already know what those add up to. So this is 447 plus X divided by 6 is 90. So now it turned into an equation instead. I can still get there. How do I undo dividing by 6? Multiply. Whatever I do to one side of my equation, I have to do to both. So those cancel. We're not going to distribute that. And all of a sudden, you start to see where this is all coming in. You're like, oh, there's the 540. There's the 447. I'm adding that to X. And if I just subtract it now, I get the same thing. They both work. It just depends on if you want to think of it more as an equation. If you're feeling comfortable with your equations, that's cool. We just do opposites. But otherwise, I can just sit here and say, hey, here's how many points I've got. Here's how I figure out how many points I need. And then I just subtract the two. You're literally doing the same thing. It just depends how you feel more comfortable. Okay? And that's going to be true whether it's percentages for a class or lots of other numbers that we work with. So, speaking of other numbers that we're going to deal with, and I'll flash this back up momentarily if we need it. That's fine. For the moment, though, we're going to change over here. We're going to get into the packet. So over here on 13 and 14, okay, we've got all these different ideas of what's going on with my values. And we've even got a bonus value in here. Not a bad thing. So the number of stories in downtown buildings. List up all these numbers. So mean, median, and mode. So you're like, okay, Hardy, I got you. You're going to add all those up. So I've got 233 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we add them up and we divide by the number of numbers there. And we get that in. Median again. We've got to get them in order. Now I'm going to try and do a better job this time of not forgetting numbers as I go. So let's see, 16 and 18. Doing the little check thing is a good idea, especially if you have the same number a couple of times, to make sure oh, so far so good. I might make it this time. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make sure I have the same number of numbers again, because if I lose a number, that messes everything up. And so once I've got them all in order, again, we're just working our way back. Oh, here's the situation I talked about before. There isn't one middle number this time. There's two of them. So, if that happens, we add the two numbers up and divide by 2. So notice I put parentheses around, because if I did it a different way, the calculator is going to give me a funky answer. Like, let me show you. If I do it the right way, I get 23, which is the right answer. If I don't use the parentheses, oh, like 34 is not even a number on the list, so that wouldn't make any sense. So I've got to make sure that I use the parentheses or that I do the adding and then divide. Get my median. My mode. What number shows up most often? You can have more than one. Sometimes you may have one, sometimes you may have some tie. So if there's a tie, we list them all. And here's my last one. Range. You're like, okay, what's this range thing? Range is just, it is it's the amount or the value from the least to the greatest, the largest to the smallest. So here, that would be 32 minus 16. So my range is just saying, what's the difference between the beginning and the end, the largest and the smallest? But I have to make sure that I get the largest and the smallest. It's not just, oh, 24 is the last number, that's 16. It's 24 minus 16. That doesn't work. And we just go that rate. So that's the basics again that we're seeing with these. We'll see this again a couple of times before the quiz. The rest of the ones here on the front are all the percentages, the scores, and things like that. So I'm going to jump down to number 3 because I don't want to do an exact percentage one again because you already have that on the notes. So I look and I go, okay, Ellen's going to buy some shoes for her kids. Good, smart move. The first 3 pairs of shoes cost $24, $45, and $62. What would be the cost of the fourth if the average price of the shoes is $50? Okay. Yeah. I don't. But you've seen me before. I just do little scratch marks. It happens sometimes. So I take my first 3, What is the cost of the fourth? That's the mystery. If the average price of the shoes is 50, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 data points we're working with. So just like we did when we had it over here in the notes, same idea. Whatever we're dividing by is what we're going to multiply both sides by. Because we just want the fraction to go away. We're not distributing the 4. We're not doing anything with it. So let me add these up here quick, because that would make life a little bit easier. Okay, those three numbers add up to 131. That's where the 131 is just randomly, it looks like, coming from. So once I get here, it's just, I want to get x alone. So that fourth pair of shoes would cost $69 if the average price was going to end up 50. And if you really wanted to see if you've done it right, you could go back and just be like, let me check, 24 plus 45 plus 62 plus 69 divided by 4 is 50. The average price is 50. I know I did it right. So that's the same pattern we're running on all of these. Add them up, put the extra x in there, divide by your number of data points, and you're ready to go. So let's see. Do we have any weirder ones in the bottom? Oh, we do. Okay. One more weird one. One more weird one. Number 6. Number 6. Let's make this simple. Sue's average for 9 games of bowling is 108. What is the lowest score she can receive for the 10th game to have an average of 110? Now, do I really want to write out 108 plus 108 plus 108 plus 108 plus 108 plus 108 plus 108? I'm almost there. Plus 108 plus 108 plus x? No. If she got, and I know that average is here, I can just multiply those together. So there's 9 games. Here's my 10th. I'm not going to divide by 2. I'm going to divide by 10. Because that would have been the same that I'd have gotten if I'd have done, I'm not going to say it out loud again because there's going to be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, if I added them all up. So 9 plus 1, there's 10 data points. Now I'm doing exactly the same thing. Whatever the divide number is, whatever the number is on the bottom, we're multiplying both sides by that. $110 times 10 is 1,100. And we just have one step. Undo the plus 972. Ooh, Sue's going to have to up her game here to get up to 110. So if you're given all the individual points like you are at number 5, number 8, we add them up, we put the plus on the end. If they give us an average score for a number of tests, you just multiply them together to get that other part in there. Okay? So again, play with these. This is the last new stuff that we're looking at before the quiz. Starting to work on the preview and stuff tomorrow. If you haven't, notes are updated on the website. Get your notes updated so you have them for the quiz. And for you have them for the preview tomorrow when we're chatting through. I'm also going to want your packets Tuesday when we have the quiz. So if you need to catch up on some stuff, please do that. And I don't mean go copy the key off online so your homework looks perfect and then your quiz is... So keep at it. Work. The struggle is worth it. The struggle is real. I'm not going to kick you in the butt to do it. I might. But we got to kick it into gear here, some of you. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there.